It is October 30th today, and some might be wondering why I'd wait to sometimes the last part of the month to do the readings. It's a lot to do with where my schedule is and so forth. But especially at this time of the year, which is known for having the veil between the worlds thin, I feel it's much more appropriate to do the reading closer to that time so that we have the best possible connection with the ancestors on the other side. So, I hope everyone has a good Halloween, if they enjoyed the weekend that they had, and enjoys what's coming the 31st, as well as All Souls Days that comes in the beginning of November, and the Day of the Dead. Ultimately, we are reminding ourselves that death is a part of our life, and that we have a life that comes after that. Whether it is the classic ones of the Abrahamic religions, or those more the ancient Buddhist or pagan spiritualism, but essentially there is a different life that comes for us on the other side. And we welcome their input on helping making this side comfortable. So, let's go ahead and get the ancestors and spirits in and see what they have to say for the month of November. Alright, so we've thrown the bones, and here's what we've gotten from the ancestors and spirits. Now, remember, anything that's not on the reading surface is not part of the reading. Now, in this case, we do have this one bone here, which is half on, half off, so we're leaving it on, and we're going to see what they have to say about this. But let's focus in. What we've got is the three main bones all clustered together, and what this reminds me of is like a bundle of firewood. So, this one is family, this one is work, this one I'm hearing them say that it's again something to do with social, but it's again a term, it's something that they've not used frequently. So this is why I'm stumbling it over, because it's a terminology and sense that is not usually sent. But this one has to do with social. So it's a social element. So, and of course we got this mass here. So it's like a bundle of wood, of sticks or logs of firewood, and here's all the leaves and branches and earth that's around it. But let's go ahead and get into this. So, first one being about family. This one, as we can see, it has its point where it is next to the social bone. So there's a divergence in it. So there is an element of this that family is going to become important, but there's going to have a root of family involvement into whatever this social component is. But the family component is going to be much more associated with the work component here, because they are closest together and they are more in line. So something starts out here with family, and you can either focus on the social, or you can spend your time focusing on the work component of it. Now, the fact that they're touching, and especially as we're getting into November, which is, depending on where you are, some consider in a very much a family time here in the U.S., it can get into questions about what is the work of the family. And I think that's part of what they're saying, because these are so closely aligned. What is the work of the family? And that's not just the idea of like if there's a family legacy, like running a business and so forth. It is, what is the family's goal overall in its existence? Is it the family's purpose to generate goodwill around itself? Is there an aspect that this is a family of healers, or a family of lawyers, or a family of artisans? So how is that sense of the family and work and its overall purpose working together? And ideally, it's wanting to work together because they're moving so close to each other. So there's a lot about what is your work, what is your family? How are the two merged? How is their purpose? I mean, if you also consider that it used to be, at least that the principle of what your last name meant was a reflection of what your family or your parents did. So if someone was a smith, they'd be smith. If they were a goldsmith, they were a goldsmith. If they were a rock breaker, there would be their name would have some variation on masonry. So it's that aspect of what is the family work purpose, and work and family are tied. So figure out what that is in this given coming time. So now let's move on over here to our social one, and which is the one that kind of made me do a head scratching. Now this is a social one, and this is showing there's a lot of bones going over here. A lot of things going on in this one. There's a lot of ones with the support bones. There's a lot of ones with the rib bones, as well as the spinal bones. And we've got this, especially we've got the this one here, which is often the one I associate with the pelvis or the top of the spine. So this one is definitely about ideas, and I'm really feeling more it's at the top of the spine this time. So there's a lot of things going on with the social element. There's a social element around thought, which is what's represented here. There's a lot of elements. In fact, that he's got a rib bone on there is also about inspiration, but there's also the issues of supports, and anything and everything that gets created and has the ability to have a longevity also needs to have an infrastructure. So there's going to be a lot of things called on in this next month around the infrastructure and how it's maintained, how it's created, as it applies to our social existence. And as a social, and what social changes need to happen, not just in the standpoint of how we serve people, but what are the mechanisms we put in place to protect us from things such as tyranny, things such as abuse of power, the idea of what does it mean to have a good candidate for the job or the task, or making sure we've got the good candidates who are putting together the project. So there's going to be a lot of issues around social change coming up in here, and balance, but mostly special social change, because it's a lot about the support systems. So support systems are going to be very important to look at and consider in the month of November, and how they have balance. And as you can see here, we have the broken rib bone and the sharp one, and it's coming off the it's near the edge of the reading surface, and with where it's focused off. So I suspect that depending on what's going to happen in this month, the issue of strife is going to be kept at bay. Strife is not going to be the biggest dominating influence on what is going on socially. There are always going to be those that are going to be focused coming from a place of anger, as opposed to a place of what is our communal good. And even the subject of communal good can be different depending on what you base those values off of. But overall, I mean, there's going to be those angry voices, but they're not going to be the dominant ones, which is good, because right now we don't need the screaming, angry voice because it's not getting anything done. It is not getting anything done. They may be cathartic and letting off energy, but nothing is getting done. And this is telling me that what has to happen here is stuff that has to get done. The supports have to be pulled together. So, focusing your will, focusing your intent on what is going to build socially, what is going to make for positive change, what is going to basically serve the most people, not the fewest people possible. And how can we make sure that we're prepared for things that are not going to abuse it. Now, as we move onward, we come to the shell. Now, in this case, the shell is the inward is facing outward. So this is, again, internal. It's about what's going on, emotions, the spirit, the mentality, and so forth. With its proximity to everything with the social bone, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be going on in the internal world, both for us as individuals, as families, as a nation, as a world. So there's a lot of internal structures that need to be addressed into what is going to be best done for people, what is as a whole, not just a small number. Over here we've got the copper piece, and it's so nicely positioned with this rib bone. So about inspiration. So there's a definite aspect of spirit and inspiration coming through, and spiritually guided inspiration. Now, the fact that it's also parallel to this one with the family bone, that goes back to that aspect of what is the family's work purpose? Are we a family of artists? Are we a family of lawyers? Are we a family of justice? Are we a family of warriors? There's a divine inspiration. Now, the other thing is that a family's purpose and so forth can shift. So if they started out as lawyers, they can become artists. But also, just as equally, it means that any family member can begin to create their own family with a new purpose. So if the artist is able to go off on their own and start a new artist family, perfectly good. If they came from a lawyer family. But there is a divine inspiration to the family and to its purpose. And by extension, it moves into what we're seeing here with the social constructs. Now, lastly, we get to this one bone that I had said was over here, that was just off the reading surface. This is another rib bone. This is about inspiration. This is coming in for December. And again, there is a sense of inspiration coming. And it feeds into the aspects of what's going on here with the social. So look towards inspiration. Look towards the things that are starting to pique your interest in the later part of November. So that's what the ancestors and spirits have to say on this October 30th. I hope you're all well. You have a good Halloween, and that November goes well for you as well. This is Uncle Destiny on behalf of the ancestors and spirits. I wish you well, I wish you blessings, and I wish you Ashe.